Okie dokie, artichokes. Let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to Embracing the Future of HR, Exploring AI's Transformative Power. I'm Casey Skarecki, Sponsorship Sales for the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. With us today is Judy Sailer, Director of Learning and Development, Primepoint HRMS and Payroll. Judy holds a master's degree in management and organizational leadership from Springfield College, received her human resources certificate from Rutgers University, go Scarlet Knights, and is certified SHRM CP and PHR. She has presented for NJBIA, CCSNNJ, NJACP, Tri-State SHRM, and Garden State SHRM, and has been featured in Forbes and Jersey Matters. She is well versed in all aspects of management and leadership. Her passion is staff development. Judy, thank you for joining us. We're so excited. Few housekeeping rules before we get started. Today's program is being recorded and will be emailed to you within a week. Please take a moment to change your view from gallery to speaker. This will help you engage with the presentation in the best way. If you're not sure how to do that, move your mouse to the upper right corner and click the button that says view, then select speaker. We'll put some directions in the chat as well. I'd also like to draw your attention to the question and answer box. Judy will be happy to take your questions, so get them in as they come to you via the Q&A box. If you have any trouble viewing or hearing during this presentation, don't forget you will automatically be receiving a recording. So if you have to sign out, you can rewatch the recording. So without further ado, Judy, take us away.
Thank you very much. It's very good to be here today. And as much as I know a heck of a lot about this subject matter, I do not know everything. So please, if there's a question, if there's something that you're interested in talking about, it'd be great to have you jump in. So when we start to look at AI, it gets a little daunting, not gonna kid you. In my research for working towards this, I was very fascinating information to find out that this was actually really started in the 1950s. There was lots of ups and downs. You'll see in there something called the AI winter, which it was a hard stop in terms of working on AI projects. The government shut things down. There was a concern over where was this going to take us as a country, and what was the safe course to take with it. So it's been 73 years since the first concepts came into being about, imitating human thought, reaction, responses. When we look at what is going on today, 1 in 4 organizations have some form of AI that they are using. A lot of times it's in recruitment and hiring. It helps to improve those tasks. It helps to make them more efficient, moving processes along for folks. 85% of employers that are using AI say it really does make them more efficient. And that is going to continue to go up as a number because we know that AI is getting better. Now, I was at a presentation the other day about AI, and as folks were walking out, they were scared to death of AI. That is not what we should be. As professionals, we need to learn as much as we can and use this and remind ourselves it's a tool. Cell phones first came out and they were the devil. And now look at all of us. There isn't one of us that doesn't have one in our pocket at this point. 92% of organizations are using AI as a source from a vendor. They're utilizing something specific from the web. They're utilizing something specific from their payroll or HR company, or a third party, but they're getting it directly from a vendor. They're not creating it themselves. It's too much. It's too hard. So this is the participatory part of the experience. What do you use for AI in your work and personal life? And you can join this poll by using the information at the top, pollev.com, Judy Sailer, 862, and your answers will start to populate as soon as folks start responding. So can we get a few answers? What are you folks using them for work? What are you using for personal life? I personally have a Google at home, and she doesn't have to do a lot of work because I just don't use it as much as I probably could. After doing this presentation, I really thought about some of the other things I could make her do for me so that I could save time for myself. I know at one point someone has told me that you can say good morning Google, and she will give you the weather, the traffic report, what's going on in the day, which would be great because I'm always one of those people who, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? What should I wear today? Are we having difficulties with our answers? I don't see anything being populated. Oh, here we go. Okay, articles. Okay, themes, main themes. What else? How many of you are using smartwatches? How many of you shop online? Wine and food. Ooh, I'm in for that one. We should all go to lunch soon. What else? Research. Yes. I will tell you that in my role here at Primepoint, I do a lot of research. I don't want to give misinformation. So research is really a big item for me when it comes to AI. I use that quite often. Anyone else? Ooh, explanations. Yeah, I am one of those people that I come across a word and I stare at and think to myself, what the heck does that mean? And I need to go look it up. It's one of those things. Ooh, the IRS recent changes. Yes, absolutely. Google, we're all on Google, and Google's always listening. We know Google's listening. Return on investment. That's a good one. That is definitely a helpful one. Oh, Alexa, Apple, of course. One of the things that no one's put up here is shopping. We're all shopping, right? At least I thought. Marketing, definitely. How-tos, yep, I could see that. When it comes to shopping, I'm sure you've all had the same experience, but my father-in-law really likes these certain types of sweaters from LL Bean. And as soon as I go to their website, it will pop up and it will say, you bought this, do you like this? And it will suggest to me items. That's AI at work. It is going, okay, well, she purchased this, this, and this the last time. Let's see if she'll purchase this. Okay, so we're going to keep moving. So what really is artificial intelligence? We think sometimes it's this big piece at this point. It is, but it isn't. And I'm going to talk about, the good and the bad of it. All right. So, for example, machine learning, it can do statistical models. It can perform tasks if you give it specific directions. Amazon had created an AI called Gabe. And Gabe's job was to help with recruitment and hiring. Well, Gabe started to think for himself, and he started to recognize that men were hired more for specific jobs. So it decided it was better to hire men, and any resume that came in that had women's sports, women's soccer, women's this, female this, it would automatically deny those applications. It got too smart for its own good. They did have to disengage it because that's a problem. Clearly, we all know about disparate impact. We're not going to go there just yet. But it became a problem because it started thinking and it started accumulating that knowledge and then making decisions. The deep learning, driverless cars. We were just talking about them prior to the event about, if you go out to California, there are several areas where they're testing lots of these driverless cars. And I don't have to tell you, I'm sure you've seen the news every once in a while when one of them has an accident. I think the last one I saw, the individual that was behind the steering wheel was actually watching a movie. Probably not the best use of your time. I don't know that I would feel confident enough in the car to get me where I'm going, although there are days I feel like my car knows where to go. It's not there yet. I don't have a driverless car. And then natural language processing. And this is another one that becomes difficult, right? So I talk to my Google and she knows. I have, for example, a Remarkable. It's a tablet. It's like having a giant notebook that I can handwrite on with a stylus. And that notebook will convert it to text for me. So I don't have to type it. So Microsoft created Tay. And Tay was going to be this, learning interaction tool that could work for individuals as, for computers, for communicating with others, for social media, etc. Tay went out and started learning. And by the time 48 hours had passed, Tay had learned to become racist. It was looking at what was out there on social media, what were people saying, what kind of terms were they using, how were they using them? And so it decided that, well, this is how my owners act, so this is what the words I will use. And so instead of saying, hey, I look great. Oh, by the way, this was supposed to be a teenage girl who was going to post positive things on the internet to kind of lighten things up and give some levity to those that were watching or reading at the time. Swung 180 degrees the other direction. So there has to be human control at some point. We're not going to get to a point we're going to say, sure, go ahead, do what you want. At least we shouldn't. So in your life, things that you might not have thought of as AI are really AI. Okay. We've got Google, we've got chatbots. How many of you go online and you go to purchase something and you get a chatbot, right? You have a problem with a Microsoft product, you get a chatbot. And you get a chatbot first, which kind of filters what you're saying or what you're asking. And then you'll get a human if the chatbot can't get you to point in the right direction, right? ChatGPT, how many of you used it? Don't be afraid of it. I will tell you right now, that product, the high schools in our area are teaching the kids to start using it. And several of the districts have opted to embrace this because they would rather have the students understand plagiarism, for example, because in college and plagiarism, you can get thrown out of school and not get a refund. So they're trying to teach them to use it responsibly. It can't do their research for science, but it can correct their information. It can give them resources to go to. So it can be a positive tool. It's a question of, are we monitoring it? And the teachers are, right? In our districts, they're using Google Classroom. The teachers can see everything they're doing. They can, monitor the products, right? Because they're products. It's a tool. As long as we've got that human in the back, then, we're still in pretty good shape, as long as the human doesn't make errors. You've got your virtual assistants, Alexa, Siri. You've got education and language things, Duolingo. Duolingo starts to get harder for you the better you get it, the phrasing. And that's AI. It's saying, okay, you got better at this. Here's a harder sentence. Okay, you got better at this. Here's another harder sentence. Personal finance. There are apps all over the place to help you decide, what stocks would I want to buy? What systems do I want into? Health and wellness. I have tried Calm to go to sleep at night. I know lots of people that use it. We're all using smartwatches. It's pushing us to go the extra mile. It's encouraging us to do more. And then, of course, image editing. And image editing is where things get scary. I was talking to a colleague this morning, and she said that someone had called her daughter's phone and gotten the sound of her daughter's voice on the message. And then they were able to manipulate that soundbite to call her to tell her that her daughter had a problem and she needed to send money. One of those kind of experiences. So note to self, I was told, make sure you don't have your voice on your messaging, especially your children's voices should not be that message. Put the generic one on there that sounds like an old computer. What you're looking at right now is through Google Slides. It is an app, this slide right here, where it says Slide 4 Strategies for Building a Stronger Network. It is an app that or an extension that you attach to your Google Slides area, and it will create for you a PowerPoint. The free version, you can get 10 PowerPoint slides. And I know you're thinking to yourself, well, if I can do that, then I don't need to go to other things. No, that's okay. It's not as in depth as you would want necessarily, but it's a good jumping off point. You know, if you have to do a presentation yourself and it's not something you do on a regular basis, it's a good jumping off point to start with so that you can kind of get the highlights of what should probably be included. So looking at what our work trends are right now that AI is definitely going to be driving, it's the R work. It's the repetitive, the routine, the rules, things that can be automated. You can set up in a onboarding system or in a recruitment system the rules of what you want someone to have. If they're required to have a bachelor's degree, you can make that a requirement. If they're required to have a driver's license, you can require that. And your system can then react to, okay, they don't have a degree, then they get the thank you so much for applying letter. We're sorry, we don't have a position open for you at this time. Then we move to the C work, which is that creative, collaborative, critical thinking. That's where the humans need to go. That's us. Okay, we need to get the manual stuff done. If we were meant to wash dishes, a dishwasher would have never come to be, right? So if we can do that with manual labor items, then we can do that with recruitment and hiring and those kind of things. And we could put more HR and more management into the process of the people as opposed to the automated steps. Jobs are going to disaggregate. You're going to see for a lot of different types of jobs, those roles are going to turn into tasks and activities. They're not going to be a title potentially. You're going to see more non-employee end dated work that'll be predominant. The computer is going to be expected to complete this assessment of the budget by blah, boom, turn a button, off it goes. The half-life of employee skills is going to go down from 5 years, which it's at right now, meaning for the next 5 years, the skills I have will function in the job that I have, down to about 18 to 36 months, meaning we're going to have to really keep training our people. And there's a lot of organizations who think, oh God, training is money. Yeah. Chick-fil-A, for example, does what they call 3 miles of training. They make sure that their staff are on top, clear, polite, precise. Don't, you get it wrong, you fix it. That doesn't come by, a 10-minute orientation. That comes from consistency and training. Training equals money. Yes, it does. It equals you having really great staff that people like and people will come back to because your staff are your most important asset. The company cores will get smaller. They'll be, limited to competitive, proprietarily owned, R&D, revenue generating work. Because people will become the only sustainable competitive advantage left, you have to make sure you keep them. We know, in business, it could cost you, double to triple someone's salary if they leave you. Don't let them leave you. Work with them. Make sure that, they're feeling challenged. Make sure that they're feeling like they're learning something. Make sure that they are in the right seat. Sometimes people get in an organization and they're great people, but they're just not in the right job. And sometimes you as the managers and owners and so forth, you need to look at that and say, I really like this kid. He does a really good job. He's just not getting this one piece. Maybe he's just sitting in the wrong seat. Maybe there's a better option for him that he will then benefit from that will support you. The imperatives that HR or that AI will drive, reskilling the workforce. My mother, who I adore, will not go to a self-checkout line for all the tea in China. She does not like the fact that jobs were taken away from young adults, college kids who were in those jobs, right? In grocery stores and so forth. So she does not want to use the checkout line. I'm on the fence because I also teach at a college. So I want my college kids to have jobs and be able to function, as a young person. And at the same time, what they're doing is they're retooling the jobs they need. They don't need 1,000 checkers anymore. They're probably going to need 500 technology people who are going to be able to fix those machines when they go down, because we know things go down. It's not going to change. There's always going to be a problem because it's an oversized computer. It's not thinking and saying, oh no, that's only 2 lemons. It's going to do whatever you tell it you put in there. We're going to see, work being reassigned to people. We're going to be creating these predictive workforce career models. We're going to see, okay, if someone is in this type of job industry, manufacturing, for example, that's going to change over time. And they're going to go from, doing a tool and die work or doing, the small creation to the more creative creation. And that work, that level that's going to uplift what they're doing. Okay, so we want to see folks improve and, learn more, step up, and be in the place that they want to be. We have to also remember to rehumanize the workplace. I know lots of folks are still having a hard time going back to the office, and I get it, right? There is something to be said for being able to work from home. We did it here at Primepoint, but in order for training to occur, it's better when we're together, right? In order for hard conversations, in order for changes that are coming, it's better to be human and to sit together to do those things. Doesn't mean you have to do it every day, but make sure that we're working to rehumanize what's going on, and that we know folks are feeling connected and feeling a part of what is going on. So we need to be that people-centered AI, right? So we're going to automate and streamline the repetitive tasks, such as candidate screening. The AI or a system, not necessarily AI, can review. Do they have a driver's license? Do they have a college degree? Those items. It can't necessarily review, I'll say, essay questions. And maybe that's something that folks should move to, where you're going to start to ask skill-based questions for what you want for people. I know, for example, there's a company called Emerson that is temporary work agency type of industry, and they are able to provide testing, so to speak, so someone can show what their skill set is based on the job that they're looking for, right? So we're going to see some of this screening start to occur because we really want to be sure we're hiring the right person who has the skill set for the item that we need. We hope that we're going to be able to see faster, more accurate decision-making processes when it comes to budgets, when it comes to inventory, when it comes to, LIFO, FIFO. We want the AI to be generating that information. If we know that there's going to be supply chain issues in this one area or that one area, we want the AI to then turn and go, okay, well, then we need to pull it from here. And it can do those things now. It can think about those things, based on the weather, for example. We know that, UPS and FedEx are driven by the weather when it comes out of Louisville, Kentucky. If the planes go down there, or if the airport shut down, everything slowed down. You're not getting your packages on the day that you're expecting to get your packages. So for AI to think about those things and be strategic and say, okay, well, bad weather pattern here, we're going to shift to this location. That could definitely help us in the long run in terms of what can AI do. And there's still going to be someone flying the plane. Okay. And we know they're flying the plane, but we also know they can go on autopilot. It still does its job, but there's still a human there making sure that it's okay. So that, becomes a big piece is in the ability to save time to make those decisions, to save money to make those decisions. We really want to see from AI increased productivity and overall efficiency. We only have 24 hours in a day. Some folks have lobbied for more. It's not going to happen. I still cannot figure out how to be 2 places at once. If I can, I will share that with everyone because we're all in the same pattern with that. We are doing 2 to 3 times more than our predecessors did because we have technology now that supports that. So we want to be sure that AI that we implement is going to improve the productivity and efficiency, not make it worse, and not take away that human input. We want that human piece still there to be sure that it is going the way it's supposed to go. Excuse me. So the pros in terms of AI, you get a lot more precision. You get accuracy. I fully admit, every time I put something together, I have other people that read it for me because Steinbeck had an editor and I know I'm not perfect. You can get tasks done. You can manage larger data sets of records, okay? You can function, have certain things function without stopping. You would be able to run for, depending on the organization, manufacturing in a different format. You would still need people there to make sure it was going correctly, but that becomes a fail-safe person as opposed to having to have 100 people in it in the middle of the night. You have to be sure that it will combat unconscious bias. Now, on the other side of it, it could create bias, and we'll talk about that. But we as people, we often have an unconscious bias. And that is not something that you can unprogram out of your brain. There are some things that you have to think about it more before you make decisions. The candidate experience can get better, with chatbots, with the availability of asking questions and getting questions answered in the middle of the night, because the chatbot can access the employee handbook, this document, that document, and provide that information to them. You can keep somebody moving along in that hiring process. You don't lose out and you don't slow them down. It works 24/7. It doesn't have to shut off. If you go to Microsoft and you have a problem and you get on that chatbot, it's going to keep talking to you until it decides that it can't help you, that you need a human. So 24/7 for certain things is beneficial to an organization. Excuse me. The cons, it lacks human touch. You don't want somebody going through a hiring process without that human touch. People want to work with people. People buy things from people that look like them. People sell things to people that look like them. So you have to be sure that human piece is there. We're never going to get away from that concept. AI isn't necessarily, working on the creative mind side all the time. Now, I will tell you, ChatGPT is fabulous. You give it a concept, it'll run with it, but it's not always right because it's pulling from everything it can find, and some things are not correct. So, being creative, it's a 50-50 on that one. The unemployment level would shift. We would start to see, which we've already been seeing, a lot of the minimum wage hourly types of positions going away. Now, restaurant industry, no, that they're always going to have those types of jobs. Grocery stores, yeah, they're still going to have some of those jobs, not as many as they have in the past. Retail, those types of items. There will be a balancing of it, but as we see our generations aging shift and where that's at, some of that unemployment level will be okay because we'll see that next group shift into the next phase of their lives. You can get dependent on it. Okay. As I said, I teach for Ryder, and I have had young people turn in work that was definitely from ChatGPT, and I will call them on it, and they have become dependent on it. So they don't have the skill right now, which they're going to work on, but they don't have the skill right now to just formulate their own communication information, to respond to an open-ended question. It takes them a little longer to get warmed up, just like it takes adults a longer time to ask questions during a presentation. But we lose that out of the box thinking with AI. So that's where the human has to stay engaged. That we want that out of the box thinking, because we know that, you know, lightning can strike at any point. You come up with the next best thing, and all of a sudden you're, you know, moving and grooving and making $1 million. The difficult part with a lot of this is the nefarious actions of others. And this is where we know there are big problems with this. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we have to be sure that we are checking all of our vulnerabilities at all times. And sometimes our vulnerabilities are the staff. The big risks, there are ethical issues, definitely bias, okay? Discrimination. Clearly, you know, Amazon did not anticipate discriminating against women in a hiring practice. The AI got itself to that position. So we have to be careful. Human error, again, nefarious actors, but the opportunities on the other side really do support trying it. You don't have to do it constantly. You don't have to go full blown, but learn about it at minimum. You want to understand it so that when and if it comes into your industry in whatever shape or form, you're prepared for it. So, for example, I went to ChatGPT because I thought, well, let's just try it. And I put in there, please create a policy on social media in the workplace for New Jersey. And lo and behold, it created a whole policy for me. Now, it gives you a policy where I can now edit it. It's not cast in bronze. Nobody else has it other than me. And so, you know, you can copy and paste and put it in a Word document and you can edit it. I checked, and I would say it was 99% correct. It needed a little bit more to it when it comes to training, right? So it got to a certain point, and then my natural reaction to it was, okay, well, how are we going to train the staff to think about confidentiality and company information? How are we going to teach the staff about harassment, discrimination? Not just emphasize that the form of harassment, discrimination, or bullying, blah, blah, blah. So it created it for me. And again, it's a jumping off point. It doesn't, I'm not starting at zero. I have a good kind of outline to go with, to start with. And I then can change it however I want. I can add in items. I can, you know, add in more meat to it, or I could take things away. It's mine. Okay. When it comes to recruitment, sorry, I'm missing something. Ah, there he is. There is an online application that you can use. That you can do candidate screening with AI. You can search qualifications. You can have things answer candidates at all hours of the night. The bad part is what is going on currently on the other side of it for folks who are working to get jobs. And this is going to have a bad word in it. My apologies.
Biggest mindfuck ever is when you're applying to a new job while you currently still have a job, right?
One of the best times to apply to a new job is when you have a job. The only problem is you probably don't have time. I'm going to quickly show you a tool that's powered by AI called Auto Apply from Massive that's going to allow you to apply for jobs without wasting any more time. Let's face it, you're busy currently working your job, but this is going to allow you to get a 20, 30, 40, 50% raise by doing the same job. Here's how it works. Go to usemassive.com/Joel, find a company you're interested in working at, click on the company. It's going to give you tons of information on the company that will help you during the interview. Find a job that you're interested in. Once you click on that job, it takes you to this page. Hit auto apply, and it's going to ask you a couple questions like whether or not you want fully remote, hybrid, in the office, what level of job you're looking for, and your salary target. Then it's going to automatically apply you to hundreds of jobs. All you're going to have to do is reply to those interview requests that land in your inbox and pick which one you want to interview at. You got it.
So we've entered a different phase. Young people can now apply for hundreds of jobs online at any given time, and they're not really doing their due diligence with that application, in my opinion. I have not used Massive yet. I'm going to go try it out myself and just kind of see how it works, because this is the new wave. Every time technology is brought up for our companies, on the other side of it, they're coming up with technology to help on the employee side of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's the best option for someone who's looking for a job, but that's, you know, a person's choice. So onboarding, we know that, you know, the best onboarding you can do is really human to human. You want folks to feel engaged in your organization. You want folks to feel like, you know, they're part of what you're doing. You can, however, use technology to help you get there. Okay. You create that employee profile. Most organizations now have, most payroll and HR companies have an employee portal that they can log into, where, you know, they do all of their hiring paperwork, and that is now saved digitally, and it goes right to the HR person or whoever it needs to get to. You can you can track their progress, see how far they're getting. You can create and deliver learning materials. Excuse me. You can communicate them throughout the whole process, and then going forward, it gives you the chance to now have it so that there's no reason why your staff wouldn't know what's going on, right? You know, holidays, days off, snow, bad weather, whatever. Excuse me. So, learning and training, one of my favorite areas, must say. It needs to be employee-centric. It needs to be a little personalized, and personalized starts to sound really stressful. I know that. But there are tools that you can use to help you in teaching folks. Okay, so.
Did you know in Google Forms, you can actually make it to where it adapts based on how students are doing? Like if students are doing poorly, they can actually go get more help and then come back and join their class if they're getting it correct. So the idea would be that everybody opens on the same page. Then when they hit next, they all answer a question. If they get it right, boom, they move to the next question. If they get it wrong, they get more help, and then they come back and take questions from those. That continues, they get it wrong, right, whatever, and then they all end in the same place. There are two main things you know about Google Forms to make this happen. The first thing is you got to split it into pages, or actually Google calls it sections. To do that, just click on the question you want to create a section under, or make it go to the next page, and click that little equal sign. Boom. See that? We just created a section. That'll be page 1. That's page 2, section 2. Second thing you need to do is you have to have it go to a specific section. Specific section based on the answer. On one of the multiple choice questions, click the little CrossFit snowman and say go to section based on answer. Then you can choose. They get it wrong, they go to the next section, which is remediation. They get it right, they skip to the next question. I have a free template of this.
Now, he's talking about school kids, which is great, but you can customize it to your company, you know, surveys that you send out, or training items that you send to them. And it's just a question of using the tool. It's AI. It is just AI, but it's manageable. And so the intent is make our lives easier. We're getting more and more work. We need to take those repetitive items off our plate and move them to where they belong.
Did you know in Google Forms?
So again, I went to ChatGPT because I thought, well, let me see what a training would look like. So I said, train staff on how to use Google in the workplace. And it came up, and I think it was a total of 25 steps so that you could use everything in Google to streamline your workday, your presentations, whatever. And I did this because a colleague came in, and she's a new colleague to the organization, and she was using Outlook. And she said, I'm not used to Google. And I thought, oh, that's a great question to ask ChatGPT and see what it does. So you can see it comes up with, you know, how do you load a document? How do you upload folders? Like, what do you do? This is the kind of things that if you, for example, use Outlook, have a training for Outlook, give it to the staff, the incoming staff. You use Google, have a training for Google. We want our staff to get up to par as quickly as possible. It costs us money every day. They're sitting around doing nothing, or they're still sitting around and they're not quite moved into the engine part of this yet. Performance evaluations. Now, this is tricky. You can create concrete objectives, okay? And you can break things down into smaller increments so that you can see that the tasks have been completed. We have to remember there is still going to be that human connection that needs to occur, okay? I know lots of folks, I know folks that have absolutely no performance evaluations, and I know folks that are doing monthly chats with their employees to touch base to make sure that they're on par and on target with the direction we're going, so to speak. So there's a range, and it is a question of, do you clearly understand the objectives of the person's job? And so that's where we gotta, HR is going to kick back and go, okay, well, here's their job description. Is this what they're actually doing? Because sometimes we made job descriptions and, 10 years later, that person's job has added and changed and grown and moved and shifted, and we haven't kept up with it. So now we've got to have very clear, concrete objectives. And so this gives us that chance to do that. Yes, it will take time. All of this is going to take time to implement. Once it's implemented, it's going to save you a boatload of time. We've talked about the enhanced candidate experience. They can use an AI-powered chatbot. They can get FAQs. They can, look at their last paychecks. They don't have to come to your office anymore and keep asking you questions about those things. You push that all into the system so that they have access to it, and it doesn't take up your time. We do know that especially, Gen Xers down really enjoy more employee engagement stuff. I don't want to have to wait for everybody. I am one of those people, my apologies, that, just text me, I'll answer you, don't call me. And if you do call me, don't leave a message. I'm not going to check it. I'm just going to call you back because I see that you called. It's one of those pieces where we like the technology piece to it, to a point. And so now we're getting, I've got to my point. Well, now I need to stretch more because now there's more technology and it's going to use it differently. A couple items that I went to go and start researching because I thought, well, performance management is one of those things. There's a great app called Savvy that can support that for kind of trainings that you're looking for something that you can kind of take out of the box and then customize. This Obrazeum. And for documents, SOPs, overviews, books, guides, Scribe is one of the big ones. And so I don't get any money from these people. I just kind of went and looked, and because I thought to myself, what are the things I would want as an HR professional to be able to use? I don't want to recreate the wheel. None of us do, which is why we all work together. So that skills and reskilling, this is going to be a change. Okay, HR folks are going to have to play a much more vital role when we are starting to shift employees into other avenues, right? So we need them to learn more about this, or we need them to learn a different emerging technology. That's going to be a change for people, and it will be a little scary. We all know that. However, we need to manage it. We need to manage it with our staff. We need to give ourselves some grace some days, because some days it's not going to work right, and other days it's going to be perfect. But it's going to make a difference as we are training our employees to move into these things and utilize these technologies correctly, because it will make us safer as a company if they use it correctly. We did talk about data-driven HR decisions. This is going to be a balance because, as we all know, bad data in, bad data out. So you're going to have points where you say, okay, well, here's the data report. Let's check and analyze it and make sure that it has all of the items that it needs to have in it, that the numbers are correct. No one ever wants to walk in with a budget or a document about a budgeting item that has the wrong numbers on it, because that's could be a major issue, of course, as we all know. Marketing. Social media listening is what is going on right now all day. As I'm sitting here and I'm talking, my Google keeps going off on my phone because she's paying attention. So I know what my ads are going to show up like later on social media, right? There are hundreds of ways that marketing can be done utilizing AI. Everything from writing a piece in ChatGPT, for example, to creating a PowerPoint in Google Slides. So we've got to look at what's going to be the best thing for my company to utilize, because this helps to drive the prices down of our marketing budget. You know, if we can save money on this, if we can use this system, if we can use that system, we start to, you know, recoup some of that money, and it makes a difference for us. We have talked about the bias and fairness concern. There has got to be transparency and accountability, and that can't be housed in one person. It's got to be a leadership conversation decision, whoever that means in your world. HR needs to be in that space. If they're not, you're missing out on a lot of issues, and the legislative things keep coming. The ethical considerations are huge. Privacy, data protection. You know, Experian was hacked. Wells Fargo was hacked. There is not one entity at this point that can say, no, we've never been hacked. I don't think. They're in there somewhere. The biggest point that you should take away from this is you still have to review everything. You still have to make sure that things are being done correctly, that no one is utilizing or misusing personal information of a client, of an employee, of another employee. So next big question we got going on is, who should AI be regulated by? And we are seeing everybody wanting a piece of that pie. We're not quite sure who's going to win. So please go back and put in your answers and make a choice. Is it the federal government? Is it an independent regulatory agency? Is it the industry itself regulating itself? Which we do have some entities that do that. Woo, independent regulatory. Whoa, right there. The organizations that are using it, are they, should they be responsible for regulating it? Oh. All right, we're getting a few more. I know some folks are sitting on the other side going, oh, I don't know. Do I really want, you know, the Fed? Do I really want the industry itself? Like, who do you trust? And trust, oh, the organization's using it, just dropped big time. Whoop, back up again. It's hard to have a definitive answer on this, in my opinion. One, because the states are supposed to manage themselves, right? I paid attention in history class. And at the same time, is it a global issue? Because we know hackers can be from any country in the world. They don't have to be anywhere near us. It doesn't have to be, you know, someone from New York. It could be someone on the other side of the planet. So where's the line? And I don't have an answer for this. I'm not going to lie. Be prepared as business people to think about this, because they're going to ask us at some point, who's going to manage this? Because right now, nobody is. Nobody is making those full-on decisions about social media, about what happens with your data, about, you know, the social media platform that you're on is the one that's making the decisions for how they want to handle it. So right now we have federal legislation that did come out in 2020, and it established the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative. That means about that much right now. The executive order promoting the use of trustworthy AI was only in the federal government arena. It is not anywhere else yet. We know that there are several more items that are going to be bills that are floating around, or that already are, that attach to this, okay? So the ethical use of AI is a proposed legislation. That will come eventually. The privacy and data protection laws. They're not specific to AI. However, like some of our other legislation, you could totally make a case for it in terms of the protection of your staff or your client's information. Antitrust legislations, some of the discussions have emerged about using antitrust laws. So how do we get the tech companies to understand that and manage accordingly? The Algorithmic Accountability Act. This is proposed legislation, and it is about them meaning social media platforms, etc. Anybody who's using any AI to be fair and transparent. Again, who's going to manage that? Because that's where the difficulties come from. New York passed a law that says that you must disclose upfront the use of any AI in your recruiting or onboarding product. It doesn't matter if it's, this big or it's this big. You have to have that upfront, and it has to be an opt-out. If a person gets to there and they say, oh, no way, and they click out, then, you're not going to have those folks apply to you. And you could lose good candidates. Like, you have to, be careful with that. So I'm waiting to see how that plays out for New York. Title VII, again, we talked about this, the women who came forward at Amazon, that was disparaged treatment. There's no two ways about it. And Amazon paid dearly for it. Even though I am sure somebody said it wasn't our fault, it was the AI's. Well, you own the AI, so that's your fault. And that's something you have to manage. We're seeing the roles adapt, and we've talked about this in terms of HR or leadership needs to be in that technology. If you're not in it, there's no trust. Staff want to see that you're in it. Staff want to know that you're comfortable with it. That's how we get folks to, grow and change and move into the next cycle of things. The big one right now that we have is social engineering. And this is what happened in Vegas, right? Everyone knows the story of MGM going down. How they went down was a person called an office, and I can only assume it was technology, and they asked for a password to be reset. And the office did it. Now, I don't know the rest of it. I'm sure there's more in that conversation. The articles I read about it really didn't give enough detail to me, but I like the research part, so that's why I wanted more. But if you think about it right now, if I called any one of your companies and said, oh, Susie Q said I can do this, blah, blah, blah. Can you put me in for the day? Yeah, click. Someone would do that. As a payroll company, we have seen folks try to change someone's routing numbers and basically hijack their paycheck. And our systems team, they're on top of it. As soon as they see those things, there's messages sent out to the employee, there's messages sent to the agency. It's a process, but that's how payroll companies need to operate. Is we need to be, on top of that. We're there for you. So if that phone call can do it, or that, email can do it, and we all get the emails, right? We all get that email that says it's something from your boss. Can you go get gift cards is the big one right now. Someone will do that. They look at the name and they think, oh, that's such and such. Okay, I'll go do it. Take that extra minute and scroll over that email address and be sure it's who you think it is. Someone writes a note. Not for nothing. As high school kids, how many of you wrote a note or signed a test for that with your parents' name because you didn't do so great on it? Let's be honest. I'm a Gen Xer, not gonna lie, but So we have to think about these things as we are moving forward, and we have to train our staff. I serve on the board ed in my town. They sent a training, and I looked at it and I thought, oh no, this is bogus. And so I called the tech guy and I said, something came up in my email, it can't be right. And he's like, oh no, I actually sent that to you. And I was like, I don't know about that. And we talked, and it was from him, but it was a test on phishing, PHISING. And I had to go through this little training and answer the right questions or have the correct answers. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no, because our cybersecurity guy here at Primepoint has me scared to death of clicking on the wrong thing. So I wasn't clicking on it for anything. The next piece of that human error or social engineering piece is really touchy to me.
My name's Chip Girl. Yes, you heard me right. Chip Girl is a type of technology that can do many things. One of them being opening a door. It also opens our bedroom door, as well as our office, as well as the drawers in the office. Our closet is chipped. And this is really cool. We can chip all of the doors. Look at it. We can even lock up our towels. See? We also chipped the gym. Yeah. Ta-da! We've also chipped the hallway and the cinema room. We also entertain a lot. So having a door and a door over there helps because we're able to lock it if we have parties and we don't want people to go on specific sides of the house. All it really is a form of technology that we can program to do cool things around our house.
Now, that's great. There's much more to thinking about that. Okay. I could go to any, bad movie and think about where her hand is. That would make me nervous. Holland has several companies who have offered employees the ability to put the chip in their hand and they use it. It has their credit card on it. It opens all their doors. It opens their car. It is the next wave, right? And they've chosen to adopt it. This young lady has chosen to adopt it. And it works for her. That's great. Clearly, she has the house where she could afford those things. But at the same time, what's the next step? It's already one thing that your phone can be your wallet and your credit card, and it can open your car door. Putting something in your body is that next big step. But it's not impossible at this point. We are seeing. If you want to hear more about the Holland one, I'm happy to share that with folks later. Your best practices with this, and I always like to give you best practices because we need it. Have an information technology infrastructure. Make sure you use the products you are using. If you're not using them, shut them off. Every product you have open, it is a way for someone to get in. Have strict processes. Train your staff. Train. I can't emphasize that enough. Maintain your data integrity. Develop that code of ethics. Monitor the system. There should be someone monitoring your system to make sure it's safe and that no one's in it that does not belong there. I worked for an organization that someone clicked a button and ransomware popped up over everything. It was a nonprofit. There's no way in heck they could have paid that ransomware. It was a major problem for at least a month. And as you all know, your businesses can't shut down for a month. That's just not how that works. Anticipate risks. We know they're coming. There's a site for New Jersey. It's NJCCIC, and it's the New Jersey Cybersecurity information page. I'll have that sent to you folks. It is great. They send out a notification of all of the latest cyber attacks that we've had and where did it go and how to recognize it. It's fabulous. I get a notification at least twice a week, and it gives you a really great update. Have an HR professional. If you don't have one, have someone come in and at least do a review for you or an audit. You want that other set of eyes to look at these things because it's going to matter when you're hiring staff, when you're terminating staff. You have to have all the right pieces in place. Review your recruitment and materials. Make sure you don't have anything on your recruitment page or questions like how old are you on them. That'll get you in big trouble. Make sure to attend the NJBIA or Primepoint webinars. We are constantly pushing these things out because there are that many changes that come through. And I can't keep up with all of them, but thanks, NJBIA as a partner is definitely one of those that helps with making sure that everybody's got the latest and greatest information. Hi, Case.
Hi, Judy, thank you. That was fabulous. It is a big, it's something that is talked about. I feel like at least once a week I hear it. We did have a question come in. If we have time, I know we're pretty much out of time, but just quickly, her daughter is halfway through college, a psychology major, interested in becoming an industrial psychologist, perhaps working in corporate HR. given this potential path, do you think it's important, maybe critical, for her to learn about and stay on top of what is happening in AI, generative AI, and machine learning?
Yes, 100%. You know, changes like this will be difficult. We know when the kids transitioned from regular school to online school, that was a huge, huge undertaking, and it was very hard. So that industrial psychologist is someone who can support those organizational changes. You know, the intent being to give people the trust and the security that they feel it's okay to make that move.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And as we wrap up, I do want to remind everyone, some people had come in and asked about if they will be able to see this presentation. It will be emailed to you within the week. Judy, thank you again. Is there any last couple words you'd like to say before we head out for the day?
Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to support.
Oh, well, it's wonderful. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this webinar. Judy was wonderful. Like I said, this is definitely a hot topic. And I'd also like to remind everyone to join us on our next webinar, Navigating Workforce Evolution, Generational Impact of Remote, Hybrid, and Return to Work Policies with Judy. It's going to be on October 24th. And to register, visit us at our website, njbia.org. So until next time, for Judy Sailer of Primepoint HRM Payroll, this is Casey Skarecki. I want to thank you for being with us today, and have a fabulous rest of your week. Cheers. Thank you.